So go ahead and find some space on your mat. Jessica, since you're already seated, we'll start out seated. As I take off my shoes. So just find a comfortable seated position. And just start to kind of rein in that breath, slowing the breath down. It helps me to count and focus on that breath for 4 or 5 counts in and 5 or 6 counts out. And just begin to start coming into your body, reminding yourself that this practice is for you and you only. So it's whatever you want to get out of it today. Okay, I think I got this rigged up for now. Take a few moments to set your intention for today's practice. Maybe it's something super deep, meditative and spiritual. Maybe it's something like, you know, I just need to decompress for a minute. I just need to be on the mat. I just need to breathe. I'm strong. I'm capable. And I love words. Words hold such meaning and they're so powerful. What we say to ourselves, what we say to other people. So I like to typically find a word that's just kind of sticking out to me in my brain whenever I start yoga for the day. And I just start thinking about that word, and when I'm drawing in my breath, I think about that word. At the end of the practice, I think about that word. So maybe find a word of resolve for your practice today. Considering the day that I had yesterday, I'm choosing the word grace today because I not only need to give my children a little more grace, but I also need to give myself grace when I'm maybe not giving my children so much grace. So whatever that means to you today, to maybe just set a word of resolve or an intention statement. Noticing any areas of the body that are calling for your attention right now. Maybe some muscle soreness. Maybe some tension in your neck or shoulders or lower back. Maybe you've got some achy joints. And just breathe some life into those areas. We know we're not actually breathing into those areas, but mentally we're just giving those areas some attention. Reminding ourselves that every single time we do yoga, it's different. Every single day, our body is different. Our mental state is different. We're so environmental, especially as women, that our circumstances a lot of the times can just control how we feel. The weather can control how we feel. Seeing ourselves in pictures, as we were discussing, controls how we feel. And let's just take a moment to just let go of any judgment, of any comparison of ourselves or of others, or even of comparing ourselves to what we feel like we should look like or have looked like in the past. That's something I definitely struggle with. It's just kind of reminding ourselves that today is a different day. We are a new person today. And going back to my word for the day, and that's grace, and just kind of giving ourselves grace today as we practice. So taking another couple of deep breaths in through the nose, allowing that belly to expand out when we breathe in, and then kind of come in when we exhale. That goes against how we've stood for years as females. We're always tightening that core, always sucking in our stomachs. Let it come out, let it relax. Take one more deep breath in. Feeling a little more settled now. Let's take both hands all the way up over our head, bringing all 5 fingertips together, and then bringing that thumb down all the way towards our heart center, rolling those shoulders back, and then bringing those hands all the way back up. Retracing those steps, bringing those hands all the way down. One more time, taking it all the way up. Hands come in, all the way down. Prayer pose. And as we exhale, bringing those hands all the way back up and releasing out. All right, let's go ahead and bring our feet in front of us, planting them flat on the floor on your mat. Finding some space between your toes, spreading out your toes real big. And then we're just gonna step up or stand up with our hips rising first, and then the rest of the upper body coming all the way up. I'm now out of the frame. We fix that. Taking our deep breath in, standing, bringing it up all the way over the head. And then exhaling all the way down with those hands. I'm having the worst time with this today, you guys. Maybe that'll be. You can see my keyboard. All right. All right, so go ahead and find that space between your toes again and really spread your fingers, your toes out like they're big fingers on your mats. You know, gotta fix this problem today, guys. I don't even want to fool it. So we're standing in Tadasana, standing mountain pose. Our feet are just spread about hip width apart. Toes are spread out like you're trying to really dig your toes into the sand at the beach. Neutralizing those hips a little bit, making sure that our tailbone is not curved backwards. It's really more tucked under, like a neutral hip, but not tucked under so much that we're hinging our hips forward. So we're going to take a deep breath in. Once again, hands come all the way up. Tiny baby back bend. Let's arch that back just a bit, opening up that heart center, and then bringing those hands down by our side. Our right hand is going to come up next. A little lateral flexion, pressing the right foot into the floor, and the right hand is reaching. And then take that arm down. Left side comes all the way up. Reaching up with the left hand, pressing down into the left foot, opening up the rib cage and the side body. And releasing back down. All right, both hands one last time. Hands come all the way up. Baby back bend. And then we're gonna swan dive, taking our body all the way down into forward fold. I'm gonna turn to the side so y'all can hear me a little better. Feet are still about hip width apart. Our chin is going to tuck into our chest a little bit. Our crown of our head is going to point towards the floor. So even if you can't touch the floor with your hands, your body can either hang, or you can choose to support yourself, or you can always use a block to kind of support yourself that way so that you can still drop the chin towards the chest. Activating Vishuddha Bandha. So we're locking the throat. That's throat lock. We're locking the throat in that forward fold position, shaking out that head a little bit. Arms can fold. We can bring our hands around our elbows and let the weight of that body kind of open your spine up a little bit. All right, so then go ahead and release those hands. Hands come down towards the floor, lifting the chest, half lift. Make sure that the activation is in your hamstrings, but your knees are bent. And then release back down into forward fold. This time coming up in that half lift inhale, bringing the hands to the shins right underneath your knees. Hello, handsome. Okay. Opening up that chest into monkey pose. Take a deep breath in here, bending the knees a lot, sweeping the hands forward into chair pose. Hands can also be a prayer pose. Hands can also be on the thighs if that's a little more supportive for you. Sweeping the arms all the way up into a standing extended mountain pose, and exhale back into forward fold. So we're going to kind of make a little flow here, coming into forward fold. Chin comes to the chest. Inhale, lifting to half lift or monkey. Exhaling, knees bend, coming into chair pose. And bring it all the way back up. Inhale, standing mountain. Flexing that lower back a little bit, pressing it down to forward fold once again. Crown of the head comes towards the floor, eyes towards the knees. Inhale, half lift or monkey. And exhale, knees bending, chair pose. All right, inhale, coming all the way back up. And exhale to land in forward fold. Holding it up here. Oh, hello. You all right? Okay. You need me to open that? You go back to center. Stand by. In your forward fold. Take another deep breath here. Oh. No! Oh, natural. What did I say my word was again, girls? Was it grace? Was it grace? All right, so we're gonna open those hands up. It's like praying for patience. Open those hands up, walk out, and come back into downward facing dog. Cross, I need you to go inside or you're not gonna get that right after this. Okay, remember that's the rule, you gotta stay inside. Thank you, love you. Stone, get dressed, please. All right, don't say that to me. All right, downward facing dog. Hands are really, really spread out big. Pressing into those heels. Dropping those ears towards your shoulders, towards your biceps. And see if you can open that chest up into an inhale and then press the chest down in the exhale, lengthening the muscles along the backs of your legs. Tailbone is curled upward. So the top of your triangle that you're shaped in now is the tailbone. So it's lifting a little higher as our heels press a little lower. Let's go ahead and warm our core up a little bit. Maybe those obliques need some attention today. We're gonna reach back and just kind of alternating hand to the ankle, hand to the toe, hand to the mat, whatever feels good for you right now. But see if you can stay in that downward facing dog. We're not coming into a plank. Oh, yeah, that feels good. Restore balance to your body. Make sure you even things up before you meet back into downward facing dog. All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring it forward into a plank position, dropping our knees, coming down halfway, chaturanga, and then lift up to a nice little baby upward facing dog or baby cobra, and then push back into downward dog. Coming forward, knees to the floor. Hands are going to come underneath the shoulders. Let's slowly rock our tailbone upward, lifting the chin, opening up that neck, opening up the throat. And as you exhale, rounding the back all the way to the ceiling, locking that throat in once again to Vishuddha, and opening it back up. So taking a few really dramatic cat-cows. See how much you can get out of your spine in this move, or these moves. Really emphasize the curving of that lumbar spine. And then back into a neutral spine when you've done about 3 or 4 of those. Looking over that shoulder, getting our back to kind of twist from side to side. Looking over the shoulder towards the hip, bringing your hip towards your elbow at the same time. So we're not just looking over the shoulder, we're actually kind of bringing our hip around towards that elbow too. Now, if you are like me and you're like most women, a lot of the times we start to kind of sag into our shoulders like this as we're doing some of these poses. See if you can kind of push the floor away from you and keep your ears way above your collarbone. And then we'll add our barrel rolls here. These are my favorite. So we're going to roll the spine in all of the directions that it's designed to go, like a DNA strand. So shoulders are moving in one direction, hips feel like they're moving in another, like your upper body and your lower body are barely connected. Really pronounce that movement. Allow it to be dramatic. Don't let your body hold that tension, like this feels weird, this looks weird, I look silly, I feel silly. Just let that go. And then when you're ready to reverse that barrel roll, go the other direction. Really drop that belly button towards the floor, pushing those hips away from the body. And when you've done about 5 or 6, we'll stop back in neutral, all fours. One more cat-cow. Deep breath in, dropping the belly button, lifting the tailbone, open up the throat. Exhale, rounding that tail underneath our legs. Throat locks in. And back to neutral spine. All right. Felt good. I needed all that back movement. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take our hands, press them out just a little bit away from us. Toes are going to curl under, and we're going to lift up to downward facing dog once again. Pressing into those heels. Sinking into that downward dog. This time, let's put the focus on the back. So we're going to open up the back with that breath. Inhale, filling up the back of the lungs. And exhale all the way through that back body. All right, we're going to come forward into that plank position. You can drop down to your knees if you'd like to. We're going to come halfway, chaturanga, push up to upward facing dog, or you can stay kneeling and then push back to downward facing dog. Right leg is gonna sweep back and then forward, dropping that back knee into a crescent lunge all the way up with the arms. And then we're gonna take a little twist here. So you're gonna twist towards your front leg. Hands can stay on the hips if that feels more comfortable for you, or you can extend it out. And then bring it back, down to crescent lunge, push back into that downward facing dog. Coming forward to plank, halfway down chaturanga, push up to upward dog, inhale, and then downward facing dog. I think this might be better. Beautiful. And then we're gonna sweep that opposite foot all the way up and back, bringing it forward, crescent lunge here, hands come all the way up. Yes, beautiful. And then add yourself a little twist here if you like. Opening up that side body, really reaching. Again, you can always keep that hand on the hip. Breathing in a twist. Good, bring it back, hands come up one more time, dropping it down. Pushing back to downward facing dog. Oh, feels so good. To stretch. All right, let's come forward one more time. Plank or kneeling plank. Crocodile. Push up to upward facing dog. Keeping the knees off the floor if you can. And then push back down. Downward dog. Yes, nice. Feels good today. Feels really good. All right, taking another deep, full breath here. All right, we're gonna take our right foot once again. We're gonna sweep it up and back. This one, let's hang out here for a moment, stacking those hips, dropping that heel towards the floor, maybe rotating that ankle, maybe bending the knee, just getting some movement in that hip joint. And then we're gonna take that leg that's in the air from our three-legged dog. By the way, this was the position I was in when my child headbutted me, if anybody wants to feel that pain for a second. Right in the parts. And then bringing it all the way forward, anchoring that back foot, coming all the way up to warrior one. I know you can no longer see my head, that's fine. Opening up those hips. Remember, both of our hips are facing the same direction. Our knee is pointed and hands are lifted up. Take a couple of deep breaths here. All right, we're gonna find a nice little flow here between warrior three and reverse warrior. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push off of our back foot into our front leg, into warrior three. Your hands can stay at prayer pose. Your hands can also stay on the hips, reaching into that warrior three. And then as we come back, we're gonna go straight into reverse warrior. So that right hand is gonna come all the way up. Left hand is gonna sweep back, opening up the rib cage along the side body. Breathe, deep breath in. And as we exhale, we're gonna windmill that arm back around into warrior three. So find a little flow here that works for you. You can stay with me if that makes you feel more comfortable, or you can take off your own pace. Just giving yourself a couple of these nice little flows, finding a balance between balance and also bringing that arm up in that nice big stretch. So try to get about one more and we'll meet down in warrior two when you're done. So bringing those hands straight out on the sides. Hips are facing the front of you in that warrior two position. So the hips go from here to here, opening up. Everything's pointed to the side wall. Now see what it might feel like to pull the shoulder blades together a little bit more and then squeeze the inner thighs together as if you're trying to bring your inner thighs this way and bringing your pelvic floor upward. So we're really locking in Mula Bandha here. So that base of the pelvic floor locks in, squeezing down there, but breathing at the same time. All right, let's straighten out that front leg. We're gonna reach forward, push that hip to the back, come down into our triangle pose, pressing the back of that hand into the floor, or maybe you're already so warm that you can go all the way down a little further. Keeping that upper shoulder back, pulled away. Always a great place to use a block. By the way, if you have a Five Below near you, and I know three of us do, Five Below has these for $4 or $5. So if you need a block or two, I always like to have two. Feels really good, you guys. So take a deep breath in and allow that body to lift, and then lower just a little bit more when you feel like you can. Let's just really breathe into that triangle. All right, we're gonna bend that knee, windmill that arm right back around to the floor, turning that back heel and pushing up into downward facing dog. Shaking out those legs a little bit. Breathing a little bit here. All right, let's go for it on the other side. This time we're gonna bring our left foot up, lifting towards the ceiling, rotating that ankle, bending the knee, maybe rotating the knee socket a little bit around the joint of the hip. Stacking those hips. And sweeping that leg all the way up towards those hands. Anchoring that back foot, coming up into warrior one. Both hips. Pressing into that front heel. Pressing into the back foot as well, which is hopefully turned a little bit more forward. And I can see my feet more. All right, guys, we're going to find that balance.
Can I open the door?
That little flow between the warrior three and the reverse warrior. So pushing out that back foot, reaching into that warrior three, finding that balance. And then coming back and landing into that nice soft reverse warrior. Finding a little flow here that feels good to you. We're going for about 5 or 6, making sure your breath matches the movement.
What are you doing? Come on, go this way.
You're doing great, buddy. Say thank you, Sissy. Thanks, Haven. All right, 1 or 2 more, adding in about 5 or 6 total. Good. I don't know why it's so tricky to do these two together, but it is really throwing me for a loop today. And once you're ready, we're going to come and just meet down in warrior two. Remember that we are pulling those shoulders together and back, like we're trying to squeeze those shoulder blades closer together, and then lifting up on that pelvic floor, locking in Mula Bandha. All right, guys, we're going to go and straighten out that front leg, hinging those hips all the way back, pushing your hand forward, and then coming down to that triangle position. Remember, you can always press into that shin. Just keep that upper shoulder really rotated back so that we can open up that chest. Looks like the sun is trying to come out. It's sweaty. All. Y'all, I gotta find my flask water. Y'all keep holding that pose. Breathe. Like, I feel the need to show y'all, like, there's so much sweat on me that, like, the sweat beads are, like, swarming around my body. I mean, they're just doing what they were created to do. I can't get mad about it, but when it stings me, it's not going to be pretty. All right, one more deep breath. Ooh. All right, so guys, we're going to bend that knee, rotate that heel upward, turn the body, press back into downward facing dog, and walk it out a little bit. All right, so we're going to go ahead and drop to those knees, pressing the hips over the heels into an extended child's pose. Hands can stay out in front of you. Hands can stack underneath your forehead, wherever you want them to go. Find yourself in a break, having a break in that child's pose. Get water if you need it. In my case, towel off. Oh. So maybe the bees won't get me. so let's go ahead and come out of that child's pose. Hands are spread out. Let's go and push up into downward facing dog. Bend your knees and either walk, step, float, jump to your hands, and reverse swan dive, coming all the way up to that standing position. All right, let's go ahead and do some balance poses today. So we're gonna find our tree pose first. The right foot is planted, the left foot is either at the ankle, the inside of the calf, or all the way up in an inner thigh. Whatever feels right for you today. Remember not to put any pressure on the inside of that knee. Hands come into prayer pose, or if it helps you to keep your hands extended for balance, this is how I learned to do tree. This is how sometimes I still like to do tree. But whatever feels good to you now, finding that balance, finding that breath. It is okay to wobble. It is okay to put your leg down and bring it back up. And when you're ready, we'll take a deep breath in, extending those hands upward or bringing them upward if they're out by your side. Extending that tree tall, lifting through the rib cage. See if you can extend the muscles in the core. All right, we're gonna bring those hands back down, switching sides, shaking it out, resetting, finding that balance on the opposite side, wherever feels good today. Maybe one side is really balancy today and one side is not so balancy today. Hands are gonna come into the chest or out to the side. Remembering that even trees sway in the breeze, it is okay to wobble. We are not statues. The body moves with the breath, extending it all the way up when you're ready. Breathing in that extended tree. And then releasing all the way down gently. Ah, feels good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go into our dancer's pose. We haven't done this one in a bit, although it depends on if you've done any of the other YouTube yogas in here. I do love dancer's pose, and we do it often. And I'm not sure which old ones we've recorded. So we'll do dancer's pose today. Planting that right foot into the floor, reaching back either with a strap or with your hand, grabbing the outside of that ankle. If you're going to stay here in this position. If you're coming in, if you're going to extend out with the leg in the hand, your hand needs to move to the inside of your ankle to protect those delts, okay, to protect your shoulders. So if you're staying here, we're bringing the knees together, and you're actually going to hinge the hips forward just a bit. So you're kind of pressing your thighs and knees together and like tucking the tailbone underneath. So you're going to feel that activation in the quads and in the hip flexors. But if you're extending your dancer's pose, we're pressing up on the foot, hand is on the inside of the ankle, and the arm extends outward. So we're actually pressing up and out with the leg, bending that bottom leg, extending this hand here, or you can keep it down by your side, whichever feels more balancing to you. Try it a couple times. You don't have far to fall. It's all right. Good. And then bring it back in when you're ready. So dancer's pose is a lot of fun, but it's all about the hip flexor mobility and the flexibility in your hip flexors. If I remember when we go down into our seated stretches, I'll try to remember to do a stretch for us there. So on the other side, we're grabbing the outside of the ankle. If we're standing and doing a quad stretch here, the knees are coming together, thighs are pressing together, tailbone is tucked under, and our hips are pressing forward. Hand comes to the inside of the ankle, inside of the leg. If you want to extend that hand outward, pressing up with the heel. Nice, graceful dancer's pose, hopefully. Really pressing that hand away from the body using the shin. And breathing. Breathing is key for balance poses. Good, you guys, good. And then release. Felt this stretch in my back love handles. All right, so go ahead and take a deep breath in. Feet are going to be together here. We're going to lift up onto our toes, which I know you cannot see me on my toes. but we're lifting up on our toes. Just trying to hold that balance. Believe it or not, standing on our tippy toes is balance. It's tricky to stay there, isn't it? And then release. All right, shaking those arms out a little bit. That's all the balance we have time for today, but we'll go ahead and move back down to the floor. So I'm turning sideways. You guys can just swan dive down into your forward fold. Headed down into our downward dog. Pressing into those heels. All right, going ahead and sinking down to our knees. We're going to come all the way down onto our belly. Lying flat on our belly. Arms are going to extend over the head or away from the body like Superman. We're going to squeeze our glutes really, really tight. Squeezing our glutes really tight. We're going to lift up the hands, lift up the chest into Superman pose. So we're actually activating the lower back, the erector spinae and the muscle groups that support our lumbar spine. Strengthening those core muscles in the back. And then release. It's important to squeeze your glutes here and lift the chest. So we're really activating that lower back, squeezing through the lower back, opening up the chest. Take a big breath in this position. And exhale. Nicely done. Very good. All right, we're going to reach back. We're going to do bow pose twice. So this is going to give you an option. If you are doing one-legged bow, you can still do both legs, okay? If you are doing both of your legs for bow, then you'll just do that same thing twice, okay? So we're squeezing the glutes once again. We're reaching back. We're grabbing the ankle, and then watch my foot. We're flexing to lock that hand into place. Especially handy if you're sweaty like me. If you want to just do one leg, you're in one leg. If you want to do both legs, you reach back, you grab that other ankle, bringing your knees closer together. Take a deep breath in, lifting the heels towards the ceiling. Deep breath into bow. Take at least 2 breaths here. Maybe 3 if you can get it. And release. We're going to switch sides if you did one side. If you did both sides, you can do that again. Taking those ankles, locking your feet into flexed position. Take a deep breath in, reach up. Pushing those heels towards the ceiling, lifting your chest off the floor. If you're breathing, your body should be moving. Those bellies have to expand with that breath. Oh, and reach down. That one killed me. All right, hands are going to come underneath us. And we're going to gently push up and push back into an extended child's pose. So we're rounding out the lower back. On the child's pose where we're rounding out our back, if you want to bring your knees together a little bit closer, like this, it helps you to be able to round your back over those knees into extended child's pose. To really just reverse that lower back action. All right, coming up onto our knees. This is where I want to give us a little bit of hip flexor stretch. We'll do our hero pose. So you're going to be on your knees. I'm turning to the side for you guys. We'll be on our knees. We're pressing the flat part of the knuckles into the sacrum right there above the tailbone. And we're pressing the hips forward. This is modified camel or kneeling camel first. Okay, for hero pose, toes are actually flexed into the floor. Hands are reaching back towards the ankles, and we're pushing the belly button away from our body. Variations are to add one arm, reaching upward if that feels good. Protecting that lower back in this stretch. And then when we're coming out of it, gently press back over the legs into that extended child's pose, or you can bring your hands down in whatever child's pose you want. But the point of this child's pose is not just for rest, it's to round out that lower back. All right, coming up into a seated position. Just have a seat, bringing your feet in front of you. Oh, we got plenty of time. Yeah. The feet come in front of us into our butterfly pose. I got so much stuff on me. It's because I'm so wet and everything is sticking to me. It's amazing. I feel like I'm detoxing. All right, pressing our feet, our soles of our feet together. Hands are going to be at the ankles, and we're going to lift the chest, pull the shoulders back. You may feel a crack, you may feel a pop. And then we're going to press the knees down towards the floor a little bit. If your elbows reach and you want to do that with a straight back, that's fine. It's another way to do it. All right, and release that. So go ahead and just kind of shake those legs out. Get those hips open a little bit. All right, so in a seated plank position, or seated staff position, we've got our legs straight out in front of us, seated forward fold position. We're just gonna fold down towards the legs. So allow the body to just kind of hang deep into those legs as you stretch the backs of the legs. With each inhale, allow your body to kind of rise a little bit and then let it kind of sink down a little further. Allow your breath to be the catalyst for this stretch. Good. Full breaths. Allow the head to hang. Should feel really good on that lower back after doing those bow poses and the Superman and the kneeling camel. All right, slowly come up from that pose, that nice big stretch. All right, we're gonna take our left leg and we're gonna cross it like a figure 4 over the straight right leg. So see if you can make sure that both of your bottom cheeks are still pressing into the mat. Typically when we move one leg, one hip kind of tries to come up a little bit. Make sure you're still seated squarely. And then go ahead and flex that foot. Hopefully what that does, it takes some of that ankle that's digging into your leg. It might take some of the pressure off. So this is seated pigeon. It doesn't feel nearly as intense as regular pigeon, but it's still a really good one. We're gonna add a twist. So we're gonna take that right arm up and over the bent leg, twisting towards the left side, opening up that chest, and seeing how tall you can make your upper body. Imagine that I'm pulling you from your jawline towards the ceiling. So you're lifting with the spine, lifting with the chest and the head, and breathing here. All right, slowly wrap back around to the front. All right, we're going to reverse that, switching it to the other side. Seated pigeon with the right leg stacked on top of the left, flexing that foot to take some of the pressure off that ankle. This leg, mine's still like up in the air. I don't know what's happening. This is this hip that's giving me trouble. So just, you know, go with it. If that's you today, if you're not feeling super flexy in one side, that's all right. And then when you're ready, we'll lift up that opposite arm and rotate towards the bent knee. So really big stretch, big full breaths here. And rotate it back to the middle. Oh, that breeze. Heavenly. Heavenly. All right, we're going to come into tabletop from here. So you guys are probably on your mats. I'm kind of facing the front, so I'm going to turn to the side. But you want your feet and your hands to both be able to be on the mats. Hands are going to be underneath us with the fingers pointed towards the feet, and they're going to press back into like a almost tricep dip position. Feet are going to be hip width apart, pressing into the floor. We're just lifting up like a top of a table. So we're pushing into the shoulders and into the arms. Find your balance here, pressing into the heels. And then I want you to imagine that you've got a balloon between your thighs and you're squeezing that balloon without moving your legs. You're squeezing your glutes as if you're squeezing your thighs together. So really pressing into that balloon, trying to pop it. If you want a little bit more here, you can walk your feet out into an inclined plank and hold. Pressing into those shoulders, allow those biceps to hold that body weight. And from tabletop, we'll sink back down into the floor. And then we're going to come all the way down into a lying down position. We'll do a couple of stretches here. Oh my God. Bringing those knees into the chest. Hands are underneath the knees to protect from hyperextending those knees a little bit. And then just kind of rock that back into the floor. Kind of massaging those back love handles a little bit. That tension that's all around that lower back sometimes. All right, taking the hands, placing them on the tops of your knees, and maybe just doing those egg beaters around and around, opening up the hip sockets. All right, bringing those knees back in. We're going to drop that one leg, doesn't matter which one, and we're going to extend the opposite leg. This is a great place for a strap. I'm going to use mine today because of my hip. I love using my straps when I'm feeling kind of stiff. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You can keep this bottom leg bent, or you can extend it out to the floor.
When the time is done,
oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. He was just giving me the timer. It's our video game timer. He's told me when it goes off, I have to be done. All right, so we're going to take this leg and we're going to activate that IT band. So right now, your leg should be going straight up. If you're holding it with your hands and not a strap, it's fine. Just use your hands behind your calf, maybe. And then we're just going to direct that foot about 6 inches across the body. It does not take long. It should take about 3 to 6 inches, and you should feel a different stretch here. Flexing that foot if you'd like. You can also use it, you can point it if it's more comfortable for you. I find it easier to hold it with the strap when it's flexed. Oh, yeah, baby. All right, and then we're going to keep those hands on that band, and we're going to hold ourselves onto the floor, and we're going to open up that leg to the opposite side. See if you can keep this butt cheek on the floor the whole time. Might be kind of tricky there at the end. Good. Beautiful. Legs everywhere. All right, bend that knee, bring it back into the middle, and drop that foot. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Remember, starting out with the knees bent, especially the knee that's stabilizing you right now. So keeping this leg down here bent. Opening up that breath and really pulling that leg in towards you, stretching that hamstring. The knee has a micro bend in it, as you can see in my knee right here, so we don't want to lock it out too much. We don't want to put pressure on that kneecap. Extending that bottom leg if you want a little bit more. All right, we're going to go ahead and take that foot just a little bit across the body. It shouldn't even go as far as the outside of your opposite side of your body. It shouldn't even go that far. It should just kind of hover over the middle to the side of your body. Like I said, it shouldn't take much. You should be feeling it in all kinds of places in that leg. That's why you should remind yourself to breathe here. And then when you're ready, we're going to loosen up that knee a little bit, open up that leg, keeping those bands in your hands, or just guide it with your hand. And keep that knee coming all the way over to the side. Keeping both glutes on the floor if you can. Good job, y'all. All right, bring it back in, bending that knee a little bit. Release those bands or straps. All right. So as we round things out, finishing things up, we're going to do a bridge pose here real quick to just get one last little pose here. Hands are down by our side, pressing into the heels, lifting up the hips, squeezing the glutes, squeezing them together. Core is tight here just to support us. If you want to take it a step further and bind it, that's fine. Finding that bridge underneath you, bracing your lower back with your hands if that feels better for you. And activating, getting a little dynamic resistance here. I want you to imagine that you're drawing your heels towards your hands, towards your back. So imagine that you're sliding them towards the rest of your body. Notice what that does for the hamstrings. It just gives them a little extra credit. And then slowly dropping that back down towards the floor, bringing the knees into the chest. Let's round it out, rock a little bit, massage that one more time. All right, and now you've got about 30 seconds, 45 seconds or so to get in any other stretch or any other pose that might be calling your name right now. Stop this timer. So any other pose that you may feel needs to happen today. Play around a little bit. Maybe you feel like you've got a back bend that needs to happen, or dead bug, happy baby where you're rocking from side to side, shoulder stands. Play around. The great news is that on the recording, you will not be seen, so this is your time to play. Do whatever you want. So for about 20 seconds more, just kind of playing around. All right. So go ahead, and once you're finished with that, coming to a comfortable lying down position. If lying down is not comfortable for you, you can always stay seated. Whatever feels good to you right now for your final relaxation. So Shavasana is corpse pose. That's typically the fan favorite. This is a part where I'll get to play a little bit of music, so hopefully you guys can relax a little bit. But I want you to just sink into that mat, allowing your body to just kind of blend in to the surface of whatever you're laying on. Feeling like every single point in the back of your head and your shoulders and your mid-back and your hips and glutes, all the way down your thighs, calves, and heels. Everything is pressing into the mat. Just allow yourself to be heavy. Allow yourself to leave an imprint in the floor. Hands can be down by our sides, palms open, like the standing mountain pose we started with, Tadasana. Or you can place them underneath your lower back, cross them over your belly if that's comfortable for you. Let's just take a moment to draw our breath in once again. Deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose or mouth. Congratulating yourself for time well spent on your body. The body that works for you every single day deserves to be given a little bit of love. And I want you to revisit that intention statement from the beginning. Maybe that word of resolve is back in your mind at this point. And I want you to focus on those words or word for the next few minutes. And I'm going to play us a little music. So you guys just focus on that breath until I bring us back in just a few moments.
Twice ground with
is crowned with glory now. The Savior now to all shall be. Now at his feet we bow. The one who wore our sin and shame. Now armed in majesty. The radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory. Our praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. Our praise will rise to Christ our King. To him who is our feet, his final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Your name is victory. Our praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. Our praise will rise to Christ our King. Spirit, I will rise from the ashes of the grave. The resurrected King is resurrected. In your name I come alone to declare the victory. The resurrected King is resurrected. Your name our praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is holy.
So you might want to begin to wiggle those fingers and toes, rotating those wrists and ankles, turning over onto one side if you're lying down, maybe drawing the knees in, using the knees to rotate you over or using your knees to draw you up to the seated position. Still taking our time, there's no rush. Once you're seated, kind of noticing any areas that might still be clinging to some tension, and just give those a nice deep breath in and out. Just taking another deep breath in and letting that out as well. Hands are going to come all the way up overhead, fingertips together once again, just like we started, bringing those thumbs all the way to heart center. Bringing it back up to the top, inhale. Exhale as you release. Come all the way back up one last time. This time we'll pause here at the chest, right at the heart center. Namaste, my friends. The hot mess in me sees the hot mess in you and relates. Y'all are amazing. Thank y'all so much for joining me for that. I really needed it today.